So the goal of an informative speech is to stimulate interest, facilitate understanding, and to help people remember your information. Persuasive speeches are a bit different. You want to grab your audience and get them to do something with information. So you have to influence their attitudes, their values, their belief systems, and you want to try and change the way they behave about your topic. So some things to remember. When it comes to the way audience members process information, you have to understand that when it comes to persuasive speaking, people automatically have a wall, okay? So you want to think about, how can I make sure that I am grabbing my audience attention and being creative so that I can get them to process the information in such a way that they will hold on to it for a long time. Now, audience members can process things through two different routes, through a peripheral route or through a central route, okay? You don't want them to process through the peripheral route. A peripheral route is a shortcut, okay? It is the audience kind of getting the gist for your information. If you've ever talked to someone who is a voting citizen who does not pay attention to any of the candidates, know anything about any of the candidates, but they see them on TV one day, maybe they like something that they're wearing, and boom, I'm going to vote for that person. That's these kind of people. They process information through the peripheral route. Those kinds of people are fleeting. I mean, their views and attitudes about things change all the time because they don't take the time to process through the central route, listen carefully, really understand what this person is saying, really apply the information to former speeches or former research that they've done on that topic to make a decision on how they really feel about the topic. You want this, okay? So informative speeches are very simple in format. You're informing your audience in some way, shape, or form, okay? Your persuasive speeches are different because you're trying to get the audience to do something, and so you have to make a proposition as opposed to just have a goal, okay? You have three different types of propositions. You have proposition of fact, proposition of value, and proposition of policy. A proposition of fact is a statement of that something is or isn't. So for example, you could give a speech or write a speech on whether or not Tupac is alive or dead. Obviously, you would need a lot of information to back up whether he was alive or whether he was dead. But your argument would be a proposition of fact, okay? Proposition of value is whether or not something has value. So it can be whether or not something is beautiful or not, whether or not something is useful or not, whether or not something is sturdy or not. I mean, it's just a proposition of value. So, for example, you could make a proposition of value on whether or not education is valuable, whether or not classroom education is valuable or college education is valuable, so on and so forth. Proposition of value is whether or not something should or shouldn't be. So, for example, whether or not we should have some kind of regulation or as harsh regulation on vitamins or on, I don't know, facial products as you do on pharmaceutical products. So those are three different propositions that apply to persuasive speeches, and you don't necessarily need to think about this too heavily when you're writing your own speech, but it is good to know. It's good to keep in the back of your mind. Now this right here is the most important thing that you will actually need to think about when you are writing your speech. You're going to need to think about who your audience is, because whoever your audience is going to greatly shape the direction that you take your speech, okay? So audience goals. You usually have 3 different kinds of audience members. You have those who are opposed to your proposition, those who are neutral to your proposition, or those who are in favor, okay? And you have to deal with those 3 different members in 3 different ways. So if you have an audience that is opposed to your topic, then your goal should not be to get them to agree with you in 5 to 7 minutes, particularly if that audience has processed through the central route, because people who have processed through the central route are hard to budge, okay? So essentially, you need to drop little seeds of doubt in an audience that is opposed. Don't expect for them to change their minds in 5 to 7 minutes. Just drop little seeds of doubt for them to go home and say, I'm not sure if I believe that anymore. Get them to do some more research, okay? People who are neutral to your topic are essentially people who don't care about your topic. As a public speaking instructor, I can promise you that the majority of the students that I have are neutral, okay? I deal with this on a daily, okay? Neutral audience members tend to be those people who just don't have enough information to care. Okay, so you have to inform them. You have to give them enough information to where they go home and they're like, man, I didn't know that. I need to make a decision. I need to decide whether I'm against this or I'm in favor of this, okay? Because if they don't know, they're going to go home and they're not going to understand that there's even a reason to have a decision or have a position in the matter. So inform, inform, inform. This is where I mentioned before, in an informative speech, you never ever persuade. But in a persuasive speech, you often inform, okay? And that's for any of these. You often inform, but particularly for neutral. For those audience members who are in favor of your topic, you might be sitting there wondering, why would I be giving a persuasive speech to a bunch of people who already agree with me? That's a good question. That's a good question to ask yourself. And if you can't come up with a good answer, then you may want to change your speech topic. But before you do that, think about really why you decided to do that topic. Because oftentimes, if you think about a pep rally, that's a bunch of people getting together who are about to go into battle or on the field with another team that's against them, but they're all on the same side. So at a pep rally, what are they doing? They're pepping each other up to go do something, to go win a game, to go win a rally, okay? So in favor people, you need to move them to action. You need to say, great, we all agree with such and such, or we all are in favor of this. We need to go and do something about it. We need to change this or change that or get other people on our side, okay? That's what you do with these people. This is very important to think about when you're doing your speech. When you send me your outlines, I am going to ask you questions such as this. Who is your audience? Who are you writing this speech for? What should you be focusing on?